I'd like to now introduce David Young, class of 16, who is president of the Student Council, to come up and share a few thoughts.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, my dear teachers, and the rest of the Cincinnati Country Days faculty, good afternoon, and welcome to the installation ceremony of our 12th head of school, Mr. Tony Jaccaci. My name is David Young, and I'm greatly honored to have this chance to speak here today as a student body president. Home, that's what Cincinnati Country Day means to me, as well as to many, many other people. Some of you may know that I'm an international student from China, and this is only my second year at CCD. As hard as it is for me every time to leave home for school, when I walk up the stairs at the main entrance, see all the blue and white, and meet my teachers, staff, and friends, I feel like I cannot be closer to home than where I am. For this is where I find friendship, passion, support, and most importantly, a strong sense of this collective and inclusive community. So, on behalf of the student body, we want to give our warmest welcome to the Jaccaci family, who have also traveled halfway across the world from Shanghai, China. To Mrs. Jaccaci, Nick, Sam, and Ben, I know it must have been a long journey for all of you, but I am confident that you will soon feel at home at CCD, and you will discover many great things here too. Beyond the fact that you can actually see the blue sky and you won't be stuck in traffic for an hour and a half before school. And as for Mr. Jaccaci, we cannot wait to see the new ideas and the values that you bring to Cincinnati Country Day School. We want to wish you a wonderful time working with us and leading us. Please allow me to address the warmest welcome to you again. 欢迎你. Welcome, Mr. Jaccaci. Thank you very much.
I'd now like to introduce Merle Black, our upper school history department chair, and also one of the other key members of our search committee. Merle.
Last September, Ann Gardner and I, as faculty representatives to Country Day's head of school search committee, were the first faculty members to meet Tony Jaccaci. The Board of Trustees had hired Educators Collaborative, a search firm, to assist the board in finding a new head of school. The work of the search committee involved long hours interviewing and deliberating. All of us wanted to hit a home run with this most important of board charges. But there was a major concern. A stumbling block appeared. Educators Collaborative warned that our search committee of 17 was the largest they had ever worked with. Would not the size of the group prove unwieldy? Could we 17 achieve consensus? When Tony had answered the committee's questions and had left the conference room, my eyes turned for a moment to Ashley Ward, Country Day's administrative assistant to the head of school, and I could tell, without her speaking a word, that she knew Tony was the person for the job. And as we debriefed, it quickly became evident we all shared the same excitement about Tony. Ashley told us Tony's knowledge and facility in assessing the complex political climate of China had her at his first mention of Tiananmen Square. Concerns about consensus vanished. By making our unanimous recommendation for Tony to the Board of Trustees, we had done our work. Yet uncertainty and drama remained. Would Tony accept the board's invitation to become Country Day's 12th head of school? Not surprising, Tony had other suitors and other offers. And for that reason, I want you to know that the chairs of the search committee, Julie Fleischman and John Hall, and then board chair Chip Pettengill, were determined to succeed in bringing Tony to Country Day. Through conversation, tours of the city, and receptions with Country Day constituents, Julie, John, and Chip showed Tony and Lucia a bright and accurate picture of our school standing as a premier independent private school and Cincinnati is a great place to raise a family. In our opening faculty meetings this week and in sit-down on one-on-one appointments, Tony has already begun to demonstrate to faculty those same qualities that impressed the search committee and the board of trustees. Mr. Jaccaci is our master teacher. He has told us our first responsibility is to know our students and to figure out how they learn, to cultivate in each child a passion for learning and the skills to read, write, and think critically. He has asked us to be guardians of Country Day's time-honored traditions, but also to trailblaze with our students by embracing new ways of learning in order to keep pace and to remain relevant in a fast-changing world. He has promised to visit our classes. Tony champions Country Day as an independent school where teachers are empowered to innovate and to construct curricula unimpeded by minimum state standards that too often suck dry the learning process. Tony Jaccaci's installation as our 12th head of school will stand as one of Country Day's historic decisions. With Tony at the helm, and as Country Day begins its 10th decade and approaches its centennial in 2026, the school's future is bright. So now is the time for us to join with Tony in affirming our commitment to Country Day and its noble mission of preparing children intellectually, morally, and socially to take up the great challenges of our age.
Thank you very much, Merle. Now we've got quite a treat. We've got Mark Lubers, who is a middle school history teacher, has written a poem for this occasion, and he's going to come up and recite it for us.
This is a great privilege indeed. Dragonfly Atlas. These words could be written in the border margin of a map rendering the assembled counties of Ohio. The page in the bare sun presented to the reader's eye on the side of a county road wavering in the green heat. The road ahead meandering and inscrutable, nameless, as all roads to themselves are, bisecting farms and woodlots, homes of creatures domestic and feral. The reader perhaps a pilgrim, expatriate or lost, and as such in hope of bearing. This map could resemble dissected arteries and organs, the topography of a peculiar creature rendered for study, the lines surveying a foreign anatomy of township, like a confounding specimen, illegible though exposed. As these words are written, the page of this map could be attended by a dragonfly, marked red and blue, nameless to itself, born of connate ponds and fields, the clear panes and regions of its wings bordered in black. Like roads on a map, each arterial line housing a lens now held over the routes and destinations in red, blue, green, and black. The projected lines, the compass rose, now legible, the bearing clear as if foreseen, the way forward open and understood. Thank you.
Well, our next speaker needs no introduction because it's me. I think, as we all recognize, the appointment of a new headmaster really is a significant inflection point for an independent school. And at a time of such transition, it could be instructive to reflect on the school's legacy, its present state, and future aspirations. In 2001, as part of a celebration of Country Day's first 75 years, a rich history of our school is pulled together under the title "And 5 Miles Farther," which referred to the founding trustees' decision to look for a site that was well beyond the suburbs and to then look 5 miles farther. The book provides fascinating insights into the roots of Country Day, and many of the founding principles are still operative today. An excerpt from the 1926 prospectus for the school clearly articulates the vision for Cincinnati Country Day. Quote, "The Cincinnati Country Day School seeks to provide the advantages of a boarding school without sacrificing home influence and environment. It will be an all-day school. Afternoons until 4:30 or 5 o'clock will be devoted to outdoor play and sports, or to nature, studying the fields and woodlands, except for a study period designed to eliminate homework completely for all the boys in the school. Now, obviously, as you can pick up, there are some changes in how the school operates today, notably being a co-ed school and having some homework. But the principles of ensuring the well-being of the whole child, the strong sense of community as embodied in the boarding school reference, and valuing parental involvement still ring true. Technology also played a key role in the life of our school. In the fall of 1967, computing was introduced into the curriculum, at first on a relatively informal basis, and then as part of a programming class for senior physics students. In 1991, the school installed its first connection to the internet with what at the time seemed like a lightning-fast 56 kilobit per second telephone line. And then in 1996, almost 20 years ago now, the school initiated the one-to-one laptop program. But one of the most enduring aspects of Country Day is the close connection between faculty and administration with the students. As Chuck Yeiser shared when we were counting his tenure, the school effectively weathered the turmoil of the late 60s and early 70s with a minimum of strife, in large part because, quote, the faculty and administration had unusual rapport with the students. Each group listened to the other. Many changes were made without the necessity of confrontation, unquote. Charlie Clark got a very clear sense for this connection when talking with his student tour guides during his head of school interviews in 1994. He said, when I asked them what it was primarily that made Country Day special, both said that it was the relationship between teachers and students. And while his quotes aren't yet published, Rob McCrae also recognized and helped foster the strong connection between faculty and students. And Tony was also struck by that sense of connectivity when he first came to campus. Academic rigor is also a hallmark of the Country Day experience. In the book, And 5 Miles Farther, John Rauschenbusch explained that the curriculum was, quote, focused on preparation that would lead to success in college courses. We wanted our graduates to be skilled in problem solving, comfortable speaking in public, perhaps in more than one language, as we had today, able to think on their feet, familiar with the men and women of history whose ideas had produced centuries of remarkable inventions, scientific discoveries, philosophy, morality, and art, able to use analytical power, and write with accuracy, eloquence, and convincing style, end quote. John put it another way, I think even more powerfully, in an assembly message he gave to the students in October 1982. If there's one thing that I hope will happen before you leave Country Day, it is to experience the magic that will enable each of you to look back 10 or 15 years from now and say, I not only got a good education there, I learned about acts of kindness and understanding. I learned how to be responsive to the needs of others, and I was touched by the responsiveness to me, end quote. That sentiment and that aspiration certainly resonates today. I was fortunate to have both of my children attend Cincinnati Country Day from 3 years old until they graduated, both within the last few years. There is no doubt in my mind about the deep, positive impact the school had on my children's academic abilities and character development. The strong sense of community, the dedication of the faculty and administration, and the way that they respect and care, I would even say love our children, instilling in them a sense of purpose, compassion, curiosity, and critical thinking, have set our children up to not only be successful in any world, but to truly make a positive difference in the world. Country Day has a very strong foundation and true momentum. Dr. McCrae's leadership over the last 11 years has positioned the school well. We owe him a great deal for helping sharpen the school's mission, strengthen the curriculum, build enrollment, reinforce and even empower our sense of community and a spirit of shared ownership for the school. But no thriving institution stays static. So it's important that as new leadership takes hold, that we continue to proactively seek out ways to further Country Day's legacy of excellence and ensure our children are ideally prepared to lead productive and fulfilling lives. A wise man once said, the skills required to succeed in the 21st century are far more complex than the skills first emphasized during the late 19th century. At that time, the requirements of an industrial age led educators to choose abilities that would prepare individuals largely for the factory floor. Today, creativity, communication, collaboration, and critical thought, the so-called 4 C's, are skills that young people will need to employ in their workplace and their lives. Most important of these proficiencies is the ability to think critically and make choices for oneself. Although information is purportedly doubling at the fastest rate in history, we can paradoxically tailor its consumption in narrow channels, thereby closing the mind. Critical questioning is now, more than ever, needed to make informed and wise choices, end quote. That wise man was Tony Jaccaci in his statement of educational philosophy that he shared with the search committee. And Tony went on to say, quote, an additional essential component is the development of a strong moral compass. As ethicist Rushworth Kidder has argued, ethical decisions of our age are increasingly ambiguous choices between what is right and right, not right and wrong. For example, should a developing nation be allowed to improve the condition of its citizens if in so doing it is harming the global environment? With technology and weapons at our command of unprecedented reach and power, we need a true moral compass to guide our decisions when ambiguity can cloud obvious solutions. The foundation of an enduring education, therefore, is a set of tools to help young people develop an understanding of and responsibility for the human race, end quote. The thoughts that Tony shared in his educational philosophy and in the subsequent discussions he had with many in our community, along with his impressive educational career, made it clear that Tony Jaccaci was ideally suited for the responsibility of leading the school at this exciting point in our history. Tony comes with a unique blend of entrepreneurial spirit and academic credentials with a proven ability to be an effective and visionary leader. Tony recognizes the importance of listening and inclusion, and that being a true leader requires creating followership. Moreover, Tony is a strong fit with the mission and values of Country Day. He has succeeded in a variety of contexts, and through it all has demonstrated a true love of learning and of children. Tony graduated from Harvard in 1992 and received a master's degree from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University in 1997. His 18 years of experience as an educator has prepared him well to lead our school. For the past 5 years, Tony served as executive principal at the YK Pao School Secondary Division in Shanghai, China. There, Tony developed one of the first residential programs in mainland China to offer Chinese students the opportunity to experience a Western-style boarding school education in a local context. Within 5 years, Tony helped grow the enrollment from 0 to a current enrollment of 460 students and over 100 staff. Tony sought the best teachers from China and around the world and worked hard to create a culture of both collaboration and accountability to shared expectations. Tony had to establish and manage the school's annual operating budget and assist with the design and building of an unfinished campus for use in their multifaceted boarding school program. He then oversaw upkeep of that facility. He also designed and implemented a comprehensive residential program, including an advising system, afternoon sports, music, and arts activities. He even got his technology stripes, collaborating with the school's director of technology to craft and implement the school's technology plan, including a one-to-one iPad program. Prior to YK Powell School, Tony spent 13 years at St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island, starting as a history teacher and taking on increasing levels of responsibility, including department head of the Chinese department, director of St. George's Summer Sessions, and Director of Global Programs. As Tony Jaccaci begins his tenure as our 12th head of school, and we look toward Country Day's centennial in 2026, there is much to be optimistic about and much more to aspire to achieve. During this upcoming school year, Tony and the board will develop a long-range strategic plan, a process that will be inclusive of the entire Country Day community as we all share a vested interest in seeing our school and our children flourish. In that process, we will seek to answer questions about what success looks like for our students and for our school. Country Day has a rich legacy of dynamic leadership. I have all the confidence that Tony Jaccaci's tenure as head of school will continue that legacy, and that future generations of Country Dayers will be acknowledging the profound, positive, and lasting impact that Tony had on the school. I look forward to being part of this new chapter in Country Day's history. Thank you. Thank you. And now, without further ado, our 12th head of school, Tony Jaccaci.
Thank you, John. And thank you to the others who have spoken so eloquently and performed beautifully today. Distinguished guests, trustees, teachers, staff, parents, students, and friends of the school. It is a pleasure to address you today, and I thank you for a warm welcome to Cincinnati Country Day School. I am honored and humbled to become Country Day's 12th head of school today. Before I begin my remarks this afternoon, I wish to make a public service announcement. I've been here for several weeks and have seen the look of fear on people's eyes as they look at my name tag. It's a Czech name that Microsoft Word autocorrects as Jaccaci. The way I pronounce my name is Jaccaci. It's catchy. Also, my predecessor, Rob McCrae, was indeed a doctor. I am not a doctor, and nor have I played one on TV. And I'd like to begin today with some further words of thanks. As I stated in my address in January, I am deeply grateful to Julie Fleischman, to John Hall, and to Chip Pettengill, and the other members of the search committee for showing their confidence in me and sharing the genuine love that they hold for the school. A moment ago, Merle, you spoke about holding your breath that I might join. Well, the same can be said for me. It made the decision to join this community an easy one. I'd also like to thank the members of the Transition Committee and the Parent Association for the work you have done in preparing for the arrival of our family. From the first night I arrived to a fridge full of food in a newly renovated Broadwell house to the delivery of beautiful flowers and planters just several days ago, we have been made able to make Broadwell feel like home for our family remarkably quickly. In fact, we held our first faculty staff reception this past Wednesday and shared the home with our colleagues. There was a big turnout, as everyone is so interested to see the work that has been done. And we're excited to be living at Broadwell and want the community to know the lights are on. And we're excited to welcome Country Day families, past, present, and future, back home to campus. Just give us a few more days to hang the pictures before you knock at Broadwell. Next, I'd like to thank the members of the faculty and the staff for working so hard to make us feel part of the school and the community. I know working at a school is a busy job, and it does not help when the new guy who's supposed to be guiding the ship does not even know how to scan a document, despite Jeff Spain's best efforts. Faculty and staff, you have been very patient and generous of spirit, and I thank you. Finally, I'd like to thank the members of the community. When I spoke to you in January, I referred to the spirit of the school, and I have felt that welcoming spirit from all parents, students, and friends I have met on campus these past weeks. Although I've not learned everyone's name, I know who is associated with Country Day and who is not. The Country Day people are the ones who have greeted me with a smile, so thank you. That means so much. A moment ago, John shared some of Country Day's history with us. John is beginning his role as this year as the president of the board. And so although today is not an installation ceremony for him, I would like to pause for a moment and also recognize this transition and welcome John to his new position. I look forward to working together, John, very much. Like John, I've been studying the origins of Country Day. Ashley Ward has been very kind to support this endeavor, communicating with both Lindsay McLean at Indian Hill Historical Society and Paula Brock in our development office. I'm learning because I need to understand why Country Day was founded and the intention of the founders. As someone coming from a school that is only 5 years old, I can tell you change happens quickly, and keeping the original intentions in mind is a crucial guide for future development. The research has been very interesting. Did you know that in the first years of the school, sports competitions were held between the dark blues and the light blues in baseball, boxing, scoutcraft, horsemanship, golf, and track? Back in 26-27, it was a close competition, with the Light Blues winning the year by the score of 375 to 369. I also learned that every boy had a physical exam by one of the 3 doctors at the beginning and the end of the school year, with records provided in duplicate to the headmaster and to the parents. Physical development was important, and the school boasted in the 27-28 school year that there was an average weight gain of 1.15 pounds per student per month across the entire student body. Clearly, this was in an age before the HIPAA regulations. One of the elements I found most interesting about these early years, however, was the transportation to get to school. Many boys took a bus daily, and here's a description from the Country Day 1927-1928 school catalog. Transportation for the boys and staff to and from the school is furnished by contract with a long-experienced school bus operator. A direct route from a point east of Gilbert Avenue, mainly along Madison Road, was selected after careful investigation and from experience as the safest as well as the shortest way to school. The buses start at Park Avenue and McMillan Street at 8:05 a.m., follow the scheduled time for each stopping point, turn from McMillan into Woodburn Avenue, and run thence onto Madison Road to Madisonville, where they take Camargo Road, Miami Road, Shawnee Run Road, and Given Road to the school, arriving at approximately 8:50 a.m. Faculty, that means they must have started at 9. The regular schedule is maintained throughout the school year, except for the a period of short daylight hours when the school closes at 4:20, so the buses may cover the entire trip in daylight. At least one member of staff is in charge of the boys in each bus. The buses stop only on the right-hand side of the road. They do not turn down side streets and cross arterial traffic at Madison Road and Observatory Avenue only. No bus is permitted to leave the starting point until a member of staff is aboard. The speed is rigorously confined in all cases to legal limits. The county roads and the school route are of concrete and were built or rebuilt in 1926 or 1927. There are no railroad grade crossings in the city, and each bus comes to a full stop and proceeds only when the tracks have been crossed on foot and the bus signaled over. The bus was $100 per year, the bus fee. For an additional 50 cents on Wednesdays, the boys could take the early bus home. Parents were encouraged to book doctors and dentists visits on Wednesdays. As the school stated, it is not compatible with the purpose of the school to excuse boys at other times or to excuse them on Wednesdays for other than important reasons. Parents, that policy is still in effect. A journey of close to 90 minutes or more must have been a long time for those boys to travel every day. With the emphasis placed on safety, we can assume that student transport on buses at that time was likely not a common practice. It would have been more convenient to build a school within walking distance of the majority of students. But the founders went, as John said a moment ago, well beyond the suburbs, then 5 miles further. Well beyond the suburbs, then 5 miles further. Why? Why this deliberate choice? Well, in practical terms, the school was intended to replicate the popular Country Day movement begun in the late 19th century. As John shared with us in his comments, this was a progressive education that sought to capture the benefits of a whole child experience and to get boys out of the city and into clean, healthy, open spaces. I would ask that you consider 5 miles further more than physical distance, however, but also a metaphor for the unknown. The unknown has been around for a long time. In fact, it helped speed up the concept to market process for fire 10,000 years ago. That's a joke. For the P&G folks in the audience. Early map makers were well acquainted with the idea of the unknown because the first maps could only capture those areas that had already been visited. For areas yet explored, they used an interesting device of placing a dragon on the edge of the map. The dragon signified the border between the known and the unknown and represented danger and threat. While it would make sense to avoid these border regions, storytellers have actually sought this territory for many years. The idea of a journey into the unknown in which the protagonist or narrator enters the wilderness faces tests that require great moral strength and returns a transformed person is a very common tale. In fact, the Country Day upper school reading list in 1926 included such heroes' journey stories and memoirs as Homer's Odyssey, James Fenimore Cooper's Last of the Mohicans, and Richard Henry Dana's 2 Years Before the Mast. Education is, by definition, a journey into the unknown. And so when our founders built a school 5 miles further to bring the boys out of the comfort of downtown Cincinnati, they also built a curriculum that would challenge and test the students and lead them to transformative growth of mind, body, and character. The program quickly became one of the finest academic programs in the city that prepared boys well for college, but also civic duty. Country Day graduates have gone on to positions of responsibility here in Cincinnati in law and business, finance, healthcare, government service, education, and fine and performing arts. These graduates have also given back to the city with funding, time, and resources to many of the institutions that make Cincinnati a center of culture. It is said the proof is in the pudding, and indeed, Country Day's alumni ranks include a host of early graduates for whom the metamorphosis of the journey 5 miles further led them to give back. And what of today as we begin to prepare for the school's 100th year? While there are few corners of the world remaining that a map maker cannot chart with great precision, our future is still filled with dragons. Recent estimates project that human population will peak at 11 billion by the end of this century. That growth, combined with a changing global environment, will bring significant challenges such as global warming, environmental degradation, state and religious-sponsored conflict, global infectious disease, and global poverty. The unknown has grown in scale and complexity for the next generation, and at speeds and levels of efficiency as we have never seen before. With contagious viruses transportable by intercontinental flights and data vulnerable from hackers around the world, these threats and dangers are not distant problems either. To prepare our current students for college and life as we are directed by our mission, we need to return to the founders' wisdom to expand our view 5 miles further. But I would argue we need to expand that scale. When considering the unknown of the future, I would argue we need to build a journey that will bring them 5,000 miles further. 5,000 miles further would be a real and practical exploration of places beyond Indian Hill. As the community knows, I am just finishing an experience living and working in China. And I know that graduates of Cincinnati Country Day will lead lives that will require them to be culturally literate as they travel throughout the world in a rapidly changing global economy. Developing empathy and understanding can only be achieved when someone is taken out of their own culture and allowed to experience another. Our student body president, David, who spoke earlier, is an excellent example of this. A journey of exploring another's condition can indeed happen in a place like China, but it can also happen as close as in other sections of Cincinnati. 5,000 miles further also means looking at the academic program to determine what is rigorous and challenging today that will allow for good college placement, but also equip our graduates to pursue lives of integrity and service. There is so much that is excellent at Country Day, and so we need to balance, as Merle was speaking about earlier, balance the tradition of rigor with the boldness of innovation to allow our students to create meaning out of their unknown world. 5,000 miles further means attracting and retaining the hallmark of the Country Day experience, our faculty and students. We will need to think about how we can continue to bring the best and the brightest to both sides of the classroom. 5,000 miles further means using the long-range planning process we're about to begin to think about the year 2026, when the school celebrates our centennial. But also to think about the year 2043, when a child enrolling in the house during our centennial year will receive his or her Country Day diploma. 5,000 miles further is an expansion of our founder's vision, but I cannot take credit for being the first to expand this vision. Leaders and educators such as Davison, Pattison, Yeiser, Wright, Rauschenbusch, Strauss, Hofmeister, Hoppel, and McCrae have done this in the school's first 89 years. Country Day is a powerful tradition of expanding its purpose and has transformed from its founding into an 18-month to 18-year college preparatory, world-renowned, co-educational institution. It's a lot of adjectives. This growth was not easy and at times challenging, but it has given us the opportunity to enter the 90th school year with strength and promise. In a way, the leaders who have come before me have already expanded the mindset from 5 miles further to 50 miles further and 500 miles further. Today, I'm just proposing to add another 0 to keep the momentum going. Try that one again. Today, I'm just proposing an additional 0 to continue the momentum begun before me. And so as we prepare for a new school year beginning on Tuesday, let us return for a moment to the young boys who boarded their bus downtown, ready for a day of school with a ride that would take them far beyond their home. As our boys and girls come to campus next week, some will still be on buses, and many will be in the family car. For most, it will not take 45 minutes, and they will not need to get out of the car when approaching the train tracks. Like their predecessors before, however, they will be taking a journey filled with excitement and joy, but also a journey with true purpose and challenge. Let us consider how to best help these young people in their journey of 5,000 miles further. Thank you.